Safety first.
You heard it here, folks. Safety first. We're going to the lumberyard today. Come on along. Welcome, friends. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're headed to the lumberyard to go discuss what I look for when I head to a lumberyard for a specific project. Now, this project is a little bit different. There's a lot of different circumstances, design limitations, physical limitations, tooling limitations. So we're working within a lot of boundaries. But basically, we're making a cabinet. That's what we're making. We're going to a lumberyard that I've never been to. So that will be an adventure in and of itself. And Christy is the person for whom I'm building this cabinet.
Aww.
Christy, being the person I'm designing this for, is kind of acting as the stand-in client for this project. Now, we already did a live edge mirror shelf in her bathroom, and it's quite warm. So you tell me, buddy, what do you think? What kind of tone do you want? Do you want to go for something a little bit warmer, you know, in the cherry walnut vein? Do you want to go for something a little cooler, like ash, maple? What? Where you at?
Okay, so I don't want anything too warm, so nothing like cherry or like mahogany or redwood.
Okay.
I think it's just too red.
Okay. Now here's another interesting little tidbit in this project and going to a lumberyard out here. We are on the West Coast. I am from the East Coast. There are different lumber selections depending on the region in which you reside. So for example, I can't get southern yellow pine very easily in Pennsylvania because it comes from the South. I can't get redwood at all on the East Coast, but I have a funny feeling it's going to be more your stereotypical white oaks, red oaks, walnut, cherry, sycamore, etc.
Be too dark.
Agreed. I think walnut's going to be too dark for that room. I think it wants to be something a little bit lighter. I don't want to go white oak, but that could work if we don't have any other options. All right, so we've got toned down as kind of a medium brown, a little bit warmer. Really what I need is somewhere in the range of 22 to 25 board feet for this particular piece. So let's go on an adventure. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Okay, bye.
Don't crash. I got precious cargo in here.
This really does feel like the Home Depot of hardwood. This is weird. Oh boy. Here's the other thing about places like this. Because these are all dimension, right? They're S4S or some of them are S3S. The prices are going to be higher than if they were in the rough. Now, we don't have a joiner, so we weren't going to plane them down anyway. It just means you're going to pay more, which is fine. If you don't have the ability to process lumber, that will do you just fine. The other thing about a place like this is there's no way in hell you're going to find anything sequential or flitched. So either I'm going to find boards that are 6 inches wide that I can kind of fake something with, or I'm going to have to get boards that are 12 inches wide, which usually there's an upcharge once it's wider than 8 inches. So bear those things in mind. We're going to keep poking around. Well, that was a bust. Straight busted. All right, look, I'm not gonna dunk on Gano. They are not serving a furniture population. They are clearly an industrial distributor, sheet goods, dimensional lumber, etc. They are not used to one-off furniture makers coming in and picking through the stacks. That's not the population they serve, and I get that. That being said, they're trash. That was a bust. Now, a thing that is important in this situation, in this creative process where you're going to pick up lumber for individual projects, is to know that it's okay to walk away without anything. If you don't see anything that's going to work for the project, don't feel like just because you drove 30 minutes to go pick something up that you have to get something there, because ultimately you're going to end up being more disappointed with the material that you have when you already know it's subpar and it's not right for the project. We have decided that we are going to go over to Rockler. We're going to see what they have there. Looking at the pricing, especially when it's S4S, it looks like it's going to be substantially cheaper to just get a piece of ply. Question on the board.
What's S4S?
That's a great question. So S4S means surface four sides. So you can buy lumber in a couple of different phases. You can buy it in the rough, which means it's right off of the mill, and you can mill it yourself. You can run it through the jointer, planer. You can run it through the jointer, the planer, and the table saw. You can also buy it S2S, S3S, S4S. So by the time you buy S4S lumber, it would have ended up costing me twice as much as it would to get a hardwood veneered piece of plywood and make the cabinet out of that. So we are going to explore that option now. Let's see what they have at Rockler. So, as far as, all right, well, first of all, we're 0 for 2 right now. It's, we went to Rockler, and nothing against Rockler, their lumber selection. They're not known for their lumber selection, in fairness to them. I was hoping that they would have any kind of veneered sheet good. They did not, so we need to regroup. And it's an adventure. Anytime you come out of your creative space and are trying something new, there is an excessive room for failure, we'll call it. And right now, we're failing.
You know what? It's not failing. We are pivoting.
Pivot? We're pivoting. We're pivoting. I don't disagree. And I'm not using failure as a judgmental word. I'm using it as, like, it's an adventure, right?
We're learning.
We are learning. We are trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And that's the nature of it sometimes. So I don't know what next looks like right now. I think a good question is, what kind of material am I looking for? I think it's a simple form. I think it's a rectilinear form. I think ideally it would be relatively straight grained without it being an exceptionally beautiful piece of wood. As much as I don't want to go oak, I feel like something like a rift sawn white would make sense given the form and would still allow the upper shelves to be the warm central focus of it. In the box itself, the cabinet itself, kind of blend into the background, which is, I think, a key component of a good design, is knowing what the star is and what's playing a good supporting role. And this cabinet's definitely playing a supporting role. Well, that was a failure. And such is life, such happens sometimes. That's the nature of the beast, but we will regroup, we will try to find some new resources, and we will try to find the appropriate lumber for this project. What that is, I'm still unsure, but we'll see what we can do. Tomorrow is a new day. So that's the plan right now. All right, take 2. We're headed to Anderson Ply to go get material for this cabinet. I've called ahead. They have oak. They also have fir as an option, so I'm going to see if they have fir in stock and what kind of, if it's A1 fir, we may go with that. We'll see. Hit me with that one more again.
What's A1?
Excellent question. I'm so glad you asked when I was off camera, and I had to ask it again. A1 is a rating for the veneer. So you have your plywood, and then each face is veneered. Typically, one face is a show face and one face is a back face. A1 means that both the show face, the A face, and the one face, the back face, are the highly rated veneers, the highest that you can get. So you can get A1, A2, B1, B2, etc., etc. It's A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a fair question, though. Onward.
No, because I want to make a new dining table.
You don't need teak. Teak is...
No, and for my...
too damn expensive.
This one's pretty. Because I like the name.
Oh, boy, howdy. This is what I'm working with, folks. Everything survived. How you feeling, buddy?
I mean, as good as I can be.
Yeah? How do you feel about the right here? Don't worry, I'll bleep that out so they'll have no idea what I actually said. What kind of pattern is on this plywood that he could have possibly been referring to?
It does look like a...
All right, let's get things unloaded.
Don't get a splinter. Don't get a splinter.
Don't get a splinter today. Hey, hey. So, quick thing, real quick. If you take a look at this one, you can see that these veneers are book matched, meaning that the veneer has been split open and it's doing this. On this face, we have a slit match, meaning that they took the veneers and they slipped the top piece off like that. So they're not book matched, but they're slit matched, which is fine. Sometimes you use that for very specific reasons. Some people like that look. Your A face tends to be book matched, so you get a more even pattern. And if there is any color differentiation from the left side of the veneer to the right side, that's gonna be evened out and it's gonna be a back and forth pattern on a book match, whereas on a slit match, you're gonna see that veneer seam more readily. One other thing to note is when you're dealing with either the top or the bottom of a stack, sometimes you're gonna see some discoloration in this. I know there's background noise, just live with it. People are doing construction. Backyard woodworking. But if this piece is on the top of the stack, say this is the top sheet of plywood when the truck is delivering, it'll have some straps on it and you will see that there's gonna be some discoloration on here. That's the nature of it. This is the only board of rift sawn white oak that they had left over, so I did talk them down by about 10%. That is one way you can save a little bit of money if you have that option. But in this case, I'm just gonna work around this, or perhaps this is gonna be the back panel so you're not going to see it. There's ways to play with what's available, so just bear that in mind, as sometimes you need to work around what you have, and still, even with a sheet of ply, maybe you're only gonna get about a 90% yield. Just something to think about. So friends, that's that. Now, I understand this video wasn't exactly me picking through lumber at a lumber yard. That was the intent, and then when we got to the lumber yards and we saw what was available, I realized that really wouldn't serve any value, or at least I don't think it would, because it would be really difficult to articulate the things I typically look for in a lumber store like Ganol, which didn't have the things I typically look for. And then of course the project kind of changed course a little bit midstream, and we ended up going plywood instead of hardwood, so we were looking for different things. So there were a lot of variables that kind of came into play mid-film, which is how it goes. Sometimes that's what happens when you're looking for material. So I hope this still had value for you, and I promise, I will do a video at a lumberyard when I'm back home that is more typical of what I'm actually looking for when I'm picking through for a project. But for right now, I'm gonna take the ply we did get, I'm gonna process it up, and I'm gonna get to building that cabinet so I can get that video out to you as soon as I can as well. So friends, I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope you get to go make a thing this week. And, as always, until next week, cheers. That we can make those shots.
Is that wide enough?
I don't remember how wide it was.
Oh, fine. Jesus.
We'll cut it. We'll make it work.
Always trust Eric.
That part.